gonna talk about autoscaling. Okay. Yeah. So autoscaling is a way to automatically scale up or scale down the number of compute resources, basically. So here we have two types of scaling. The one is horizontal scaling and the other one is vertical scaling. So if we talk about vertical scaling, for example, we have one particular EC2 instance which is running on T2.micro, and we want to upscale it. Okay. Upscale means we are increasing. Okay. So here, if we say like we go with T2.large, okay, then this is being considered as a vertical scaling. Okay. We will be calling it as a vertical scaling. Now, if and we will be calling it as a vertical scaling. Now let's talk about the horizontal scaling. Okay, let me do one thing. Let me segregate it this way. Okay, so this is your vertical scaling. If we talk about horizontal scaling, what happened in horizontal scaling? We could have, for example, one EC2 instance, right? One EC2 instance. And this is of any particular configuration, we can say. Maybe we can say T2.micro itself. Okay. And we realize this EC2 instance is not enough to handle the load. We need few more EC2 instances for the availability perspective as well. Okay. So here we will be needing to have multiple EC2 instances, like we go get this increased 1, 2, 3, okay, or as many capacity we define. So here it will be like this. This one is also T2.micro and this one is also T2.micro. So here you are running multiple EC2 instances basically, right? When you are running one EC and this scale up, okay, scale up is when you are increasing the number of instances. Okay, two terms comes up here. Scale up is scale up and scale down. Okay, two terms are there. Scale up is increasing the number of instances or EC2 instances, I can say. Okay. Scale down is decreasing the number of instances or EC2 instances. Also, I can put it out. So how this scale up and scale down happen? Okay, here basically in vertical scaling, what we used to have, we used to analyze how is the performance, and accordingly we used to take the decision, right? We need to get this size increased or we need to get the size reduced. Accordingly, what we do, we used to take the decision. But here in horizontal scaling, okay, what happen is we do this, we do the scale up and scale down actions on the basis of load or on the basis of utilization. Okay. So here, how it happen is basically, for example, I can give you an example of CPU utilization. Okay. So here what happened, whenever the CPU utilization, if I say whenever the CPU utilization goes more than 60%, or I can say 70%. Okay. When the CPU utilization is going more than 70%, what to do? Increase the number of EC2 instances. Okay. So initially you are running one EC2 instance and CPU utilization for this EC2 instance goes more than 70%. What it will do? It will add one more EC2 instance. Now, after some time, it realizes, okay, the CPU utilization of both the EC2 instances goes more than 70%. Then what it will do? It will be adding one more EC2 instance. Okay, so accordingly it happened. And similarly, we can define one more. So here what is happening? Here scale up is happening, right? Scale up, it is increasing the number of EC2 instances. Similarly, here, if I define one more, okay, I say when the CPU utilization is less than 30%. Okay. So if it is less than 30%, right? then in that scenario, I also don't want to run 3 or 4 EC2 instances because it will be unnecessarily creating the cost for me, right? So in that scenario, what I want to get the EC2 instance reduced. Okay, so here what will happen? So if, for example, 3 EC2 instances were running earlier, and now the CPU utilization is less than 30%, then what it will do? It will bring from 3 to 2, 2 to 1, as per the limit which we will be setting. Okay, I don't say it will be running minimum 1 only. Maybe we can define minimum 2 or minimum 3. Like this number of EC2 instances should run. Maximum 10 or maximum 8 or maximum 5. That also we can define, right? Why we need to define the maximum limit? For example, if something is wrong with this EC2 instance, maybe we did some configuration mistakes or anything, then what will happen? Your EC2 instances will keep running on. Okay, someday you came up, you find out, okay, 100 EC2 instances are running into this particular auto scaling group. There will be a much budget you will be needing to think about from the costing perspective as well, right? So you need to define the minimum and maximum. Okay, that we will talk about. So that you need to define. It will be like from the costing perspective, it will help you to have that. Any questions still here?
No, I got it, I guess.
Okay,
So it's
that's
all depends on the CPU utilization. This is the only way we can scale in or scale out.
not only CPU utilization. There could be multiple things. I'll just talk. I'll just give you some heads up.
Okay,
Okay,
okay.
you will be able to understand that. Okay, okay. Mm, I'm. Let's talk about one more thing here. Okay, there is a service in AWS that is Cloudwatch. Okay, I'm not talking about everything into the Cloudwatch. Okay, but I'll give you some heads up here. So Cloudwatch is basically the monitoring service of AWS. Okay, it is the monitoring service of AWS. So basically, what it does, it monitors. Okay, whether you have the EC2 instance. So in EC2 instance, what it will do, it will be monitoring. It will doing monitoring. What is the CPU utilization of this instance? What are the network in bytes? What are network out bytes? Okay, all these things. What it will be doing? Status checks, right? All what it is doing. This is getting monitored. To instance, the data of EC2 instance is getting monitored, right? So who is monitoring this? So CloudWatch is a service which is monitoring this. Okay, and this CloudWatch watch is integrated with different services of AWS. So by default, it is being integrated. You don't have to do any certain configurations there. By default, it is being integrated. So now, in CloudWatch, there are few terms which we need to know. The one is metrics. Okay, what is metrics? We need to know. So metrics is something which captures your data. Okay, or on the basis of that, you come to know where on the basis of metrics your data is being captured. Okay, like as I have given you a few examples, right? Like CPU utilization. Okay, I can say memory utilization. Okay, although in AWS there is a no metrics, this metric is not available for memory utilization, but yeah. Okay, you have network in or out. Okay, so what are these? These are your metrics, which are on the basis of what you're capturing the data or your data is getting captured, right? So these are your metrics. Now, the third thing which comes up is your alarms. Okay, before we're talking about the alarms, I would like to talk about the something that is threshold. Have you heard about this threshold?
Nobody in AWS, no.
Okay, and in general, what is threshold?
No idea, bhai.
Okay, no idea. Okay.
I think like in like just in English term is just like it's a sort of value. When something reach to that value, then it triggers something.
You're right. Okay.
You know,
Oh, you're
but
almost right. So, yeah, threshold is refers to a predefined value, okay, used to monitor. For example, if I say, I uh, I given you an example, like CPU utilization, if it goes more than 70%, then 70% is your threshold. Okay. For scale up, 30%, if it goes less than 30%. So 30% is also a threshold for scale down, right? So threshold refers to a predefined value which is used to monitor. Okay.
that so it's the same value that triggers something, the change we need.
That, yeah, we will talk about that. We will talk about it.
Okay.
Yet we haven't. Okay.
Uh,
I can also write down something for metrics. So metrics are data points, okay, that represent the performance. Okay, because it is representing the performance, right? It is telling like your CPU utilization is 70% or memory utilization is this much, this much. So these are the metrics only. Okay,
for
like how
example,
much traffic is going out. These are your metrics only. Okay. Now, if I scroll down, okay, alarms. Yeah. Then what are the alarms? We know it, right? Alarms is means your threshold is breached. Okay, we used to set the alarm. For example, if I want to get up at 6 a.m. in the morning, I may be needing to set up an alarm. So whenever 6 a.m. is happening, it means what my threshold is, like it is at the threshold point or it is gonna breach, right? And then what it will do, it will trigger an alarm, right? So similarly here also we have an alarm. So when the threshold is breached, it goes into the alarm condition. So there are basically three states of the alarms here. States of alarm. What and all? So the one is uh, okay. Okay. Okay means when it is below the threshold. Okay. Okay means refers to below the threshold. Okay. Next is in alarm. In alarm means your threshold is breached. Okay. Next one is insufficient. Insufficient means insufficient means Cloudwatch is capturing the data. Okay, like what is the utilization? For example, here I have given you like if 70% uh, on 70% we want to trigger an alarm, right? So if we want to trigger an alarm, then this CloudWatch will be checking what is the CPU utilization on all these things, all these three, whether it is less than 70%, more than 70%, or what. Okay, if it is more than 70%, then it will do what it will do. It will go into the in alarm state. If it is less than 70%, it will go into the OK state. And when it will check what is the actual CPU utilization on all these three EC2 instances, right? At that moment of time, it will remain in insufficient state. Okay, so basically there are three alarms or three states of alarms which are being available. Do you have any question or any concern?
no way, I got it.
Okay, now let's talk about one more thing here, and that is basically SNS. Okay, SNS is a simple notification service. Okay, basically what it does, it helps you to trigger notifications. Okay, it helps you to trigger notifications on email, okay, on phone, etc. Okay, email is very popular. On phone, hardly people do that, but we can do that. Okay, on phone also we can get the notifications triggered, and there are multiple URLs or other things as well where if you want to trigger out the notification, we can do. So here, as we are talking about this, I told it will go under the alarm state, right? If the CPU utilization is more than 70%, what it will add one more notification. But how will it add? So if the CPU utilization is more than 70%, okay, it will trigger an alarm. Okay, alarm will tell Autoscaling Group to add one more EC2 instance. And along with that, with the help of SNS, we also wants to get notified, right? We also want to see if the EC2, if additional EC2 instance is getting added up, okay, or if it is getting reduced up. So those alarm details we also want to have. So then we will be needing this SNS, simple notification service, which will help us to trigger out the notification to us. Okay, so this is what we have from Autoscaling, from Cloudwatch, and from the SNS. Do you have any questions still here?
No, thank you.
Okay, then that looks to be fine. Now we need to understand. Next is how this Autoscaling, Cloudwatch, SNS together works. Okay, we'll be needing to understand this.